let me. Okay, so first of all, how many of you guys are familiar or have heard about Hack Day this 31st of August? 4 people. 4 people, really? Okay, 5 people. Oh, okay, so everyone, but you just don't want to raise your hand. That's wonderful. Come on, guys. It's almost Friday. Okay, so if you guys haven't RSVP'd for Hack Day, make sure you do. We're trying to go all out for that day. We're buying banners. We're gonna brand the whole place so it looks more IESD. We're even going to buy a backdrop so we can take pictures with everyone, do kind of like a social media effort and everything. So I'm looking forward to that day. It's gonna be a lot of pizza, a lot of drinks. I think Jonathan was talking about doing some energy drinks. He's into that, I'm not. So.
I know you're talking about tequila, man.
Tequila? No, we can't do that in this building, guys.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
bring some too. I'm gonna bring some too.
Okay, awesome, perfect. So Tony, you heard they're gonna bring energy drinks.
Yes.
So awesome. So yeah, if you guys can come, make it, and participate, wonderful. Okay. If you guys have any friends that might be interested in it, make sure to spread the word. Okay. Okay, so we can get started. How many of you guys have used WordPress before? Okay, a couple of you guys. Okay. What about those of you that haven't used it before? What has kept you from using WordPress? You guys are too loud. One at a time, please.
I don't know where to start, to be honest. I just heard of it.
First of all, people who don't have a blog,
Right.
that's no incentive to use anything. It should be the subset of people who haven't used WordPress but do have a blog is the people who would have an opinion on that.
So is there a reason why you don't have a blog?
I've used WordPress before.
Oh, okay. Someone
I
else that
can-
doesn't have a blog. He was talking over there like he doesn't have a blog.
Well, no, I
I'm
just
like,
was
okay.
saying, you're just because
I
you
actually
haven't-
do have one, and I can give my perspective. So
Okay, wonderful.
when I decided that I wanted to do a blog, and I was like, oh, okay, WordPress, and then somewhere along the line, I realized, oh, there's a difference between .org and .com,
Yes.
which is the first big step.
Yeah.
And then once I got into .org, and I had everything, and I was like,
Yeah.
now what?
Yeah.
Now
there
what?
is a
And I
lot
ended
to
up
it.
actually paying somebody to teach me how to use it just so I could get going. Because I was just, bumping up against different information here and there. It got really confusing and nothing was happening. So.
Yeah, so our talk was going to be limited to the dashboard, but April brings up a good point. There is a WordPress.com and a WordPress.org. WordPress.org is the open source version of WordPress. You can utilize it free of charge. You can distribute it. You can build on top of it. You can build themes and resell them, whatever you want, right? But WordPress.com is the paid version of WordPress. It's even a bit different on the backend. It utilizes something called Calypso. Okay, how many of you guys have heard of WordPress.com itself? Okay, wonderful. I don't have any experience utilizing WordPress.com at all. I don't see the need in it.
What's the difference?
It's managed, right?
You don't have
So-
to do your own hosting.
Okay.
And the other thing is that you're limited, heavily
Yes,
limited.
very.
So what's the difference between WordPress.org, WordPress.com, and then clicking install WordPress from your GoDaddy?
So we're going to get to that part,
hosting?
which is wonderful. WordPress.org, you host it, you self-host, right? So that's on your server. Most people utilize shared hosting. So for example, let me bring that up. Somebody doesn't get it, they should be talking right now. So for example, for shared hosting, say I have a client that needs a small site or whatever, I have DreamHost, right? DreamHost, like other hosting companies, have a one-click installer for CMS systems like WordPress. So for example, say I have some domains hosted on my shared server. I click here, I look for the domain that I want to add WordPress to. I select it. Any directory, custom directory I want to pass in. Select the database, or it'll create it for you automatically, and then you press this big blue button, install it for me.
How much does that cost?
I think I'm paying like $10 a month.
And how many sites can you host?
It's unlimited. So, but again, that you're paying for what you're gonna get. It's low quality, right? As far as uptime, I don't know when it comes down.
So how does it compare to like the GoDaddy shared server for $7 a month or whatever?
Same quality. It's
Unlimited bandwidth.
yeah. The only thing, I guess the only difference, and I know this is out of the scope of this talk, but GoDaddy, for example, DreamHost provides mail, a mail server for you, and it has unlimited emails, right? GoDaddy doesn't. GoDaddy kind of nickels and dimes you for emails.
Like
I think GoDaddy even charges for the SSL.
Yeah, if they could charge you for looking at them, they would. So.
And then what's the difference between that and then just using Firebase?
Firebase, you need to be a developer, right?
No.
Yes, you do.
You can host on, there's
I'm
other
not a developer and I created
You're not a
Firebase.
developer. Don't play with me. Come on, Scott.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
No, you're not a developer no more.
There's other companies out there like Bluehost and SiteGround and things like that that maybe cost a little bit more, but offer you better uptime, faster speeds. You know, so it really just depends on like what your needs are. If your site goes down from time to time and you don't care, then you can go for. But if it's your like merchant store, like if you're running something where you're making money, you don't want that going down. You want to spend a little extra money on your host.
So one thing that WordPress can do is it can be utilized for e-commerce, right? You utilize something like WooCommerce. But for your question, what the difference is, when I look at shared hosting, I compare it to like a VPS, virtual private server. You pay a bit more for that service, but there's a lower threat, right? Because you're sharing everything with other people, like thousands or hundreds, depending on the company, right? Yeah. So if one of those sites gets attacks and it comes down, you know, everything starts.
Every site that's on the
So with something like a VPS, the threat goes down a lot more. You're still sharing some things, but it's much cheaper than dedicated hosting, right? Dedicated hosting is an arm and a leg, but it's much safer. So you're paying for what you're getting.
Can you install WordPress on Firebase on Google?
I don't know. If it supports MySQL, yes.
I have no idea.
So
I'm barely getting by using the command line stuff on Firebase.
Okay, well there's your answer. So WordPress, you need PHP, MySQL on your server. Shared hosting out of the box usually comes with it, right? That's why I believe it's so popular, because out of the box you could just install it and get going, right? Okay. So the dashboard. How many of you guys have seen this dashboard before? Okay, wonderful. So for those of you guys that don't have a blog yet, okay, and don't have hosting yet, that's your first job, right? To go get hosting. Just so you guys know, we did have a talk about domains, hosting, and registrars. You guys missed it. So I don't remember seeing you guys there. It is up online.
If you just need to get a blog up, you can use. The reason I switched from WordPress to Blogger is because Blogger hosts domains for free.
Or you could do that. Yeah.
But all you're doing is a blog.
Right, but it depends, right? If you want to style it however you want, you want to build a theme by yourself. If there's greater functionality that you want to add to it, you can use something like WordPress.
It's also harder, I think, for you to port your information if you do decide to go self-hosted later. Like there's limitations to that too, but it's an option.
No, I wasn't. The only reason I did it is because I was able to port my domain name over so that I no longer had to pay a monthly fee to still have a domain name.
Right.
Yeah. So
all
today
I was using for was a blog. So.
We're going to be covering how to install things like themes, plugins. I'm sure you guys can read my beautiful list up there. How to protect your blog. That's one of the things that's very important. You guys will, if you start working with WordPress, you'll see, if you have access to your logs, to your access logs and everything on your server, you'll see that daily you'll be getting bombarded with requests to like files that don't even exist on your server, right? So you need a way to protect your server. So
you get the fishers, you get the scammers, the comment.
There was somebody who doesn't have a WordPress site but kept getting hits like that, so he set it up and it sends back this I can't remember, but it sends back a page or a link or something that totally messes with them.
My favorite
I know, he rickrolls them, that's what he does.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful.
I was like, what does he do? It's funny, yeah, so he ends up sending him rickrolls them.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with WordPress. People see WordPress and they for some reason want to hack your site.
My favorite hack attempt was a prisoner in Russia saying that he had to post comments on my blog or he was going to get executed.
Oh, okay.
And please click the link to save my life.
Did you save him?
Oh, hell no, I told him. I disabled comments.
Well, next time I need a comment to save my life, I'm not messaging you. So.
No, it was one of the more clever spammers. I should say more amusing spam posts.
It's like when you get those emails from a prince
Yeah.
that came into money, he wants to share it with you.
But he needs a
Wonderful.
$10,000 deposit.
Yeah.
Oh, I got
hey,
seven,
sometimes that
I
can
literally
work
got
out.
7 phone calls from the
I'm still waiting for my money, so
Internal Revenue Service today.
Junk mail?
you guys don't see me, it's because I got my money from that prince.
That's right.
So yeah, so we're going to be covering how to add articles, pages, and then updating your navigation. So pretty simple things, right? I also want to cover some plugins that you should be looking at if you're going to be installing WordPress on your server and then creating your own developer blog. Okay, so first of all, let's look at posts, okay? The dashboard is pretty straightforward. There's nothing that I believe is too complicated on here. So let's do this.
I would say distinguish what the difference between pages and posts is because that confused me.
So
Not
funny
that it's,
enough-
but somebody else might.
Funny enough, everything in WordPress is a post. So it's weird. But, okay, so we have posts, right? I don't think we're gonna cover custom post types because I think that's out of the scope of going into the dashboard and doing that. But posts are your articles, right? If you add a post, it'll show up on the front end, depending on the theme that you've installed. We'll cover how to look for themes, how to install themes and everything, but adding an article is very straightforward. I will refer to posts as articles moving forward. Just don't want to confuse you guys. So when you have articles, they show up on this page here. Title, author, categories. If you move on after utilizing WordPress and you want to customize your theme, you can add additional columns to this so you can see additional data. But out of the box, this is WordPress out of the box, okay? So let's say you have an article that you want to edit. You hover over that article and click edit. Okay, so this is Gutenberg for WordPress. It's built with React, okay? So again, if you, in the future, want to develop for WordPress, you need to know React.
What is
So
Gutenberg?
Gutenberg is the name of the editor for WordPress. It used to use something called TinyMCE. If you've ever worked with editors or anything like that, that's what they used to use before. So
They just updated it like less than 6 months ago.
yeah, and it was a huge ordeal with the whole
It's like the
community.
biggest update they've had in like 10 years. Everyone
I
freaked
still
out.
use VR, so.
Yeah. Okay, so to edit an article, this is your title. Okay, whatever you put here, you get a what's called a slug generated for your article URL. Okay, you can change it. So for example, if I click edit, I can change what this is going to point to, right? I think this is very important for like SEO. Instead of having something like or something like posts, right? Post 01, that's not very descriptive, right? You want something like right, how to create a site instead of post 00001.
They even
right?
get pissy about those what they call stop words, like the A.
Yeah, yeah. So just keep in mind, you have all that flexibility, right? You have that power. Okay, so here's your title. You have a lot of different blocks that you can utilize. So let's add something right here. So as you are editing, you can see what your content is going to look like, right? You have access to all these different blocks. So a paragraph block, image block. It's pretty much, I wonder if I'm going to butcher this word, but it's a WYSIWYG, right? What you see is what you get?
Yeah.
Which one? Sorry, so did you install this yourself from WordPress.org or did you just do it through the DreamHost interface?
So WordPress.org. Yeah, so I downloaded WordPress.org and I installed it on my server manually instead of using the one-click installer. But if you have shared hosting, you can do that. I have a VPS, so I installed it all manually.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, if you guys are ever interested in installing WordPress on your server and you need help, let me know and I can get you guys started as well. Okay. Yeah. So moving forward, there's a lot of different blocks. Depending on what you're writing and what your needs are, you might be able to install additional blocks utilizing a plugin. Plugins are pretty much to extend functionality for your site. For example, let's say, like April said, you might need an e-commerce site. There is a plugin which is very powerful called WooCommerce. It provides you the whole functionality you need for an online store. from everything from inventory tracking to shipping and handling. So it's very powerful. You do have additional blocks. You just keep exploring tables, versus, yeah. So you
There's
guys.
the code block there too, so if you wanted to embed something, that's where you would put it, like embed a chart or something off of.
And the cool thing is that depending on the theme that you purchase or you find for free or whatever the case may be, it's all pre-styled, right? So there's also plugins in case you want your code to be specifically styled to look like, say, what it does on the editor. You can find plugins for that specifically, okay? Pretty much anything that you can think of, somebody already thought of and created a plugin. So yeah, it's pretty much like using Word, to be honest, for creating content. We can just go in here and start typing. Press enter, a new block is made. By the way, this is what I look like when I'm writing content too, so this is how it goes. Yeah, so as soon as you're done editing your content, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse up there. Perfect.
Yes.
So you guys can click on update, right?
The original, it says publish.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna go back and make a new one because I'm thinking this might be confusing if they don't have any articles. So if you have an existing article and you're gonna update it, straightforward, right? Look for the button that says update. You've updated it. Okay. You also have these two tabs here. One is called document. It has a lot of bells and whistles here. You can go in and change the date that you are gonna say you published this article. You can modify it to say you published it in 2017 or whatever the case may be. So you have the option to set the date manually. Okay. Visibility, there's a couple of options. You can set it to private or password protected. Okay. So when you try to visit that article in the future, it'll ask you for a password. Okay. So I can type in a password. I'm gonna use a super secure one. Okay. So let's say I update this. When I try to access that article, it'll ask me for a password. And if I input password 1, it'll let me through. Otherwise, it'll ask me for the password again. Okay? So let me go back to public.
What would be an example of a use case for having a password protected?
So one thing that Esri does is that whenever they are creating articles, so Esri has physical publications, so like magazines, and they convert, Amy converts them to digital articles, and when they're sharing these articles, they don't want the public to see them, right? So they make them either private or they set a password.
So what's the difference between private and password?
So private, you need to be logged in to be able to access it, and you have to have the permissions to access it.
You have to be in the
Logged into-
admin panel.
Yeah. However, one
Okay,
that's
so you have to be logged into that
WordPress.
blog,
yes,
like as a user for that.
yes.
Okay.
So-
As a user or as an admin?
I'm sorry.
Is it private for users or for admins?
As a user that has permissions, so there's
Okay.
different roles as well.
Okay.
You say, and then for password, we use it when we want to share with somebody that's out of the public, doesn't have access to WordPress installation. So as long as they know the password, they can access the article as well. So that's one use case that I've seen. So
It's also used like if there's something that maybe somebody's going to pay you for their service, or I've seen people do it that way, where you pay $5 for some information or whatever, and then you get a password to go to that site for it. Or if you have a product and you only want to share it with certain people after they've contacted you, then you would then give them, rather than have it just free and open.
Oh. I think
Wouldn't it
I've
be
bought
more
books
secure
like
though to
that
give people
before.
user accounts?
Yeah.
Because if that one, you only have
I
one
think I've
password, so that
bought
password
that
can leak
before.
out, right?
it really depends
Yeah.
on your use case,
They
really.
give you a password.
But if you're offering something
You
for
might have used
purchase, and
WordPress.
Yeah,
one guy
so-
purchases and leaks it,
So April's example, there are plugins that handle that. For example, generate like a
Yeah.
one-time use password, right, for that specific product. It also provides a link to download the product. So there's plugins that take care of that. But this, out of the box, this is what you get, right?
Those are just ways I've seen people use it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, just because somebody uses it some way doesn't mean it's correct
Right.
at all. Especially in WordPress, you'll see. I think that's why WordPress gets such a bad rep, is because people build anything they want with it, and then they think it's good, and it's not good. So, and that's the other thing. If you're going to install plugins, be very careful with what you install. Look for plugins that have. I'll show you guys, but look for plugins that have a lot of ratings a lot of feedback from people. You don't want to install a plugin that has only one review.
A lot meaning tens of thousands, not hundreds.
Yeah, you guys will see. So moving forward, you guys have categories, tags, pretty standard stuff for blogging. You can set a featured image. All these taxonomy items can be utilized by the theme specifically. Not all themes are the same. Just because you install a theme doesn't mean that it's going to use your categories or your tags or your featured image. They work a bit differently. Okay? So if you learn how to use one theme, it doesn't mean you can learn all the themes. Okay? You can also have something called excerpt. Say, for example, let me show you guys something real quick. So let's say you have a bunch of cards, right? Like these right here. You don't want to show the full article, right? So you can utilize that excerpt field. So you can show a different version of your article, something to entice the user to read your article, right? So that's your excerpt, and you can show it here. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there integration for Instagram?
Yes. Yeah. There's a bunch of plugins. It's really cool because, for example, there's some that you post an article and it'll spit it out to your social media outlets.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's RSS, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I mean, that's part of it, but no, there's actually plugins that will just auto-post for you once you hit publish.
They most likely use the API. So.
The RSS is just a feed
No,
format.
RSS is to pull stuff to your social media, not to push.
Well, pull for whoever wants to subscribe to that feed.
Yeah.
It's just a way of summarizing stuff for other applications.
Just
so-
like the opposite, it's like a backwards part.
Yeah.
It's like SSR.
Moving forward, we have the ability to add. You had a question, Spencer? No? Spencer?
Spencer.
Okay.
You had a question, right?
No, you answered it.
Oh.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I'm
that's right,
talking.
you did ask it.
So we also have the option to add discussion, so comments to your articles. Out of the box, comments is very ugly. Okay, it's not. I'll show you guys. Yeah.
I haven't even gone there. Oh.
Yeah. So just keep in mind, you're able to add comments to your articles. Okay, and you get the power to add it to articles specifically, or blanket. Right? So if there's a specific article that for some reason you got a bunch of comments that make no sense and you want to just close comments for it, you can do it specifically for that article. Okay? So let's look at an article. Let's see. Scroll down. Okay, so out of the box, okay? I am utilizing a theme that comes by default. I'm using the 2011, okay? That's what the theme is called. This is what an article utilizing that theme, that's what it looks like. So you have your name of the website up here, you have an image, so you can call it like a hero image. You have your navigation, date of the article. You can go back and forward between articles that you have. So the next article in line, it will take me to that article. And then you guys should recognize all this content inside your editor that we were looking at. Now, the only thing that, someone mentioned something, code, posting code on your article. Say you like right here, I was trying to post code right here. Let's say I want to show that with a black background and have it all like syntax highlighted. There's a plugin for that, right?
Can't you use the same plugin to do the same thing that it does like on Slack? I
What do you
can't
mean?
remember what it was called. That type of
Markdown.
markdown.
Yeah, there should be. I don't know. 100% I don't know, but 100%
There
I
probably
want to say
is.
yes.
Honestly, there probably is.
Yeah, if you can think it, somebody already thought about it. So somebody built it. And if they have it, you want to get on that, build it,
Yeah.
sell it. So cool. So leave a comment. I've never left a comment on here.
Great article.
Right. There we go.
Did you
See, so
even check to see if they were human?
no, because I'm already logged in.
Oh.
Yeah. So But again, out of the box, it doesn't have that great security.
You
So-
have to set up, like, there's probably settings
Yeah.
in there, you'd have to, like, again, you probably need a plugin even.
Yeah, for example, at Esri, we had to build it custom made. We were going to utilize something like Adobe Livefire, and then we looked at Discuss, but it didn't fit the requirements. I am on video, so I'll leave it at that. So yeah, so we custom built it. So that's
Do
wonderful.
you guys use captchas or?
No, you have to log in to Esri. There's 2 different ways you can log in. You can log in via Okta, or you can log in through Esri accounts. So all these people are usually people that come from like the, what's it called? GeoNet, maybe? Yeah, GeoNet. So they're already logged in. So they come in, I pick up their information, and they're logged in. So
So they just give you a token?
yeah, and then I deal with that. So any questions about the article page? It's a very straightforward thing. If you guys have seen a blog, this is very simple, okay? You guys have any questions of how to add content to the article page? Perfect, everyone's
I got a
expert.
question. How can you create a banner out of tiling images?
Tiled images?
Yeah, like a banner image.
So
like a post
there
on a
are
small
themes
image.
that give you all that flexibility to customize your articles or your pages or whatever the case may be.
That's
But
what I'm thinking of.
yeah, but for example, this one out of the box, not very much so. You can go to something like the customizer. Let's see if it gives us that. We click on customize. So let me go back so you guys can see that. So I went to my dashboard, right? And then I clicked on appearance.
One more time for all the people who are just coming in. Just
Oh, sure, okay.
when they get to the dashboard, because I signed in and everything, so.
Yeah, so on your
Oh, you know
dashboard.
what? You have a dark theme. I guess I have a light. I hate that.
You're
but-
on WordPress.com.
Yeah,
Oh, I
I was
should
gonna say,
do
you're
it.
probably
Oh,
on WordPress,
okay.
What should
Yeah.
that be?
WordPress.org, or self-hosted.
No, you should,
Yeah.
your WordPress, yeah.
No, he is. It just looks.
It's just a different, it's a different.
They
panel.
got
Yeah.
me.
It's
They
a
got
different
me.
panel.
You see blue on it, right? There's blue?
Yeah.
Like blue? Okay, yeah, it's different.
Well, I mean, at the top, and there's like white.
It doesn't matter. Okay, point is,
That's so.
we go under appearance, we click on customize, and again, it's heavily dependent on the theme. Calm down, Jen. And this one actually does have a setting for a background image. Let's utilize your red, Jen. Okay, so I was able to add a background image.
For
Now,
the background, he's talking about the banner though. The banners, most themes I've worked with take it from the featured image.
yeah.
I figured I could just assemble a banner from smaller images, lickety split, but maybe not.
It's most likely it would either be theme dependent or a plugin.
It heavily depends on the theme.
It sounds like something.
For example,
should be able to
this one right
figure
here,
out.
it's all custom built, but it's
Yeah.
all utilizing WordPress, right?
An image background.
So if, let's say we,
I'm not impressed.
it's fine. I didn't design it. I just built it. So you
no,
are not hurting my feelings.
I'm teasing. It's okay.
No, I will go home and cry. It's fine. So I'm sorry. No, it's fine. Yeah. Just make sure you win. Okay, so since we're already here, this is called the customizer. Themes, like I said, they don't all work the same. Some have more options than others. This all by itself is an API. Okay, so if you're a theme developer, for example, you can utilize this API to give your end user more control over your theme. Okay, there are a bunch of different APIs when you're building with WordPress. There's this one, there's the JSON API. So as you're creating articles, there's an API that's being built in the background for you automatically. Okay? So,
Why is he building an API?
I'll show you in a second. Okay. So, for example, you mentioned something about an RSS feed, right? But at Esri, for example, we have other teams that utilize the articles from Newsroom and RGS blog. And for example, they want to add it to the application. they have an ArcGIS Online app, and they want to show all the blog articles that have to do with ArcGIS Online, they can go into the API and query for all articles that are categorized ArcGIS Online, or they have the taxonomy of product and set to ArcGIS Online, right? And then you get something like this. The cool thing is that you're able to modify it to fit your specific need. So say you only want 5 fields, right? You can go into the code, and you only provide those 5 fields. You can create routes, you can create data points, whatever you want. But all of that out of the box is also provided for you. So, if I click. So if you have a WordPress site and you append WP-JSON to the end, you will get something like this provided to you. Okay? You can think of this as an interface, so you can see what you have access to. All the different endpoints and everything are all listed for you there. Okay? Some of them you can interact, you can read, but you can't write to. You need to authenticate yourself when you do that request. And again, this is out of the scope of this talk, but I just figured I'd drop it for you guys. And again, a bunch of different APIs that you can utilize. So, okay, so we talked about posts. Let's create a new article because Abel suggested it. So if I click on posts, I'll have a button here that says add new, okay? Or I can also, under all posts, right here, click add new, and it'll allow me to add a new article, okay? It's telling you right here what to do, add title, right? Fancy title. And then I can just start writing, right? Okay. And then I'm gonna publish it. Notice how it didn't say update, it said publish. Okay? Now it's confirming, it's asking me to confirm. Are you sure you want to publish this junk? No? Okay, so view post. And you can see that the title's there, the content is there, and then I can leave comments. Okay?
If you're not ready to publish, there's also the text link for just save it as a draft.
Yeah.
So you can like keep working on it. I know like Vast was saying, like if you're working on a project, go in, update your, so you can kind of do that with a project where
So
you're
if you say switch to
just
draft,
saving it as a draft until you're ready to
if
actually.
you say switch to draft, will it pull out the last published version?
Yes.
That button up there says switch to
You
draft.
won't be able to see it on the front end anymore.
I was saying, so
Yeah,
it'll pull down the published version.
Yeah.
If you switch it to draft.
Unless you're behind a cache, like say Akamai or Cloudflare, you're gonna want to take it down and then go to the Cloudflare and clean the cache. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be like, why is it not changing? So
Well, if you do versioning, can you do like an alias to say this is like the latest published version? And
you can access revisions by themselves because there is a revision API, so you can access them at the same time. So
you could have a published revision and you can have a draft revision at the same time?
yeah, so here, so let's look at, where do they have them in here?
Yeah, I don't know where they are on Gutenberg. They used to be right along the sidebar.
At Esri, we're still using the old
The
version.
classic, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I saw your other article had revisions on it.
There might not be any because you haven't done any. You have only saved this once.
So let's
That's why. There's
look at
only
another.
one version.
Let's look at this one.
I thought I saw it when you clicked on the document. You scroll there. Yeah, there's 14. It says 14 revisions.
Perfect. Okay. So you can go back and forth,
So you can pick which revision is visible.
and then you can restore this revision, right? So it's kind of like if you guys have ever used Google Docs, you know how it saves every time you do something different. It gives you a few seconds and then it saves. Same thing. You can go in, WordPress has something that's called the heartbeat. So every, I think it's like 300 seconds, I can't remember, it'll do like an autosave for you.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So sometimes when you're doing like micro optimizations, you can set it to like that long, or just remove it, but that breaks a lot of different things. So yeah. But yeah, so that kind of also helps when there's multiple people trying to access the same article. It'll let you know that someone else is working on it, right? And then it'll ask you if you want to take over, and it'll kick that person out. So.
You're like, I like doing that. I'm like, it's fine.
Have you done that to an author yet?
No.
No, me neither.
No.
They'd probably call me.
I don't want to go up in Monica.
Yeah, so let's move on to, we talked about categories and tags, right? So you're able to add them outside of an article, and you can also add them while creating an article, okay? And you also have tags. Again, if you are creating a custom theme, you can add a bunch of different taxonomies. You can add custom post types. So instead of this saying, let's say you have a website where you talk about books, right? Instead of this saying posts, it can say books. And every time you add a book as an article, for example, it'll add it to the front end, right? So let's look at media real quick. I mean, you guys can guess what media is for, right? Media library?
Stock images, right?
You guys should all act surprised then. Oh, wow, there's images in
What?
there?
You can put pictures?
Did you upload those, or are they the standards?
No, I uploaded these. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if it came with the stock images standard.
Yeah, no. WordPress comes with nothing. So when you click an image, you're able to add a bunch of different things to it, right? If you are worried about SEO, then you should fill these items in there, right? For example, you have alt text, a description for the image. It tells you who uploaded the image. If there's multiple people working on the site, that's very useful. There's also plugins that optimize images as you upload them to the site, and it also tells you how much was saved during optimization. So, and it even provides you the link to that image if you want to use it elsewhere.
Is that per image, or is that per time you use the image?
I'm sorry?
Is that based on the image itself, or is that every time you use the image you need to customize it?
No. You can upload it, or when you upload it, it'll let you add those fields, or even afterwards, you can go in there and edit them. Or what was the question?
Say you use that same image in a different post. Should you have different fields, or do you need to upload the image with a different file name?
No, yeah, you're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say
if you
that
update it here,
opens with that link of that photo.
there's one instance, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So talking about that, WordPress does this other thing where it creates different versions of your image, different sizes. You can see that. Let's see.
Is it out of the box?
Yeah, see?
Oh yeah.
Thumbnail size, medium size, and large size. So we've had this problem before where we have a carousel, and it was utilizing the thumbnail size of the image for like the big hero image. So that wasn't working out. So we had to fix that.
Carousel?
Yeah, so that was a custom component. So you have image that you can go back and forth. So, yeah. Okay. So media. Any questions about the image library?
So you does it resize the image for you on the fly, or does it save it separate sizes?
Yeah, so it gives you the option to you can add custom sizes, but out of the box it has those three. So thumbnail, medium, and large. Was it medium? I forgot. I just saw it.
Yeah.
No, but when it serves it, is it resizing on the fly, or is it serving up the exact?
It depends.
Okay.
Because if in the article, if you go into one of these articles, if you click on the image,
It's gonna be on the It's on the edit panel on the side.
okay,
You have a
you knew what I was looking for.
Yep.
Perfect. So see, it lets you do it there. So
this is you can customize it in each article here.
yes.
Size-wise, yeah. And you can go
Size-wise.
down there, right below it there, there's the custom, you can actually set what you want the width and height to be. Now, it's not gonna link them, so if you change your width and not your height, you're you know, so you gotta do your conversion
Yeah.
It
to make sure you
maintain-
keep the
It doesn't maintain.
The aspect ratio?
Yeah.
aspect ratio correct, yeah. Or you can just do like
Based on
it says that
pins.
take it down 25% of the original image size, or
Again,
and you can also
I
drag
don't know.
and drop.
Wait,
There's a lot of
That's
ways to do
doing it here, but once it prints it out to the
Okay.
friend, I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say,
again-
it's not changing the height value, but it is,
Yeah.
the representation is staying proportionate.
So let's go.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never published it because as soon as I saw it not moving, I went, oh wait. So
Yeah,
maybe it does, but I just always assumed it didn't. So
You can.
You can preview it.
yeah,
You should be able to preview.
I just always, as soon as I didn't see that second number moving, I just went.
So you can also do this. You can go into the image. So let's say you're at your media library and there's an image you want to edit for whatever reason, right? The designer didn't provide it to you properly and you gotta go edit it. We can blame everything on the designer. Okay? We click on edit image and you can do all your rotating and then cropping and everything, resizing, aspect ratio selection, and so on.
So here it scales it.
Yeah.
That's why when it didn't do it on that other page, I was like,
You should have a really good reason to use this.
Yeah.
Right? I in the years that I've utilized WordPress, I've never had to use this. I normally use something like Photoshop. I scale down the image to what I needed, the resolution down to like 60, so it's fast to load. There must be a really good reason for you to do that on here. So
You took a picture on your phone and you're trying to upload it
Yeah.
in the field.
for some reason you want to upload it and you don't have time to go back and go into like a image editor, yeah, that's fine. So pages. So pages are different from posts in the sense that you can, WordPress utilizes what's called a loop, okay? The WordPress loop. Every time it goes through the loop, it'll execute whatever you put inside it, right? So for example, let's say on the home page, you go through the post type of books and you have it list out all your books, okay? You can do that on a page, but you can't do that on a post, okay? Does that make sense?
it does to me only because I had to figure it all out.
Yeah, again, this is out of the scope of this talk, because
What's
that's
the
more,
difference between a page, what is a page?
so a page can have,
Is this accessible only from the dashboard, or is this something that users can see too? Like your
so
people
the
visiting
user
your
can see
site.
articles and pages.
Uh-huh.
They're all here. Let me edit a page so you can see what it is. Okay, it looks exactly like an article.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks exactly like an article, but it has a different functionality. You can have, depending on what plugins you're using, you can post articles on that page. Okay, for example, let me give you another example. Customize. Let's see, homepage settings.
Yeah.
Let's say for my homepage, I want to utilize one of these pages I have up there, okay? That's what pages are for. Okay? Let's say out of the box, this theme provides a template to show only posts on that specific page. I can add a template to that page as well, something I can't do with posts. So, let me go back and show you what I'm talking about. So pages, all pages, these edits. It doesn't really matter what I edit.
Well, what do you have on your homepage?
Nothing. It's just
Oh.
like a,
Just a blank page.
yeah, so this, I'll show you guys in a minute. I have like 4 articles on there. And I'm using this as a headless CMS. So my front end is all built in, I'm sorry?
What?
Headless CMS. So I'm not, yeah, I'll get to that eventually.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, like for example, on your homepage, you can
They're
have.
joining around like a headless chicken. So.
On your homepage, you can actually have like a section that will show thumbnails of your blog posts on top of it, and you know, so then you can set up your homepage, and it'll have like different aspects from
And that's a template.
that are either custom to just that page or that take information from elsewhere within
But
your.
that's one of the templates you can use?
Yeah, I mean the themes typically have templates, or you can make your own. But
Yeah.
the difference between like a post and a page is that the page is kind of the back. I don't know how to get like a background, and
It's a
then
page.
yeah, I mean like you said, the looping
It's like
thing.
when you're
you
building
can
something,
set
yeah.
what's going to display in it, and it can actually be components from the other aspects of your site can display on that home page, or like your blog page will put thumbnails of your blog posts.
Actually, my original question though, it's answered. So the pages is something that's accessible by any visitor to
Yes.
the blog. It's not something that's only from the dashboard for the
Right.
blog owner to do stuff with.
Yeah, I think for me the most important distinction is that I can add articles to a page, but I can't add a post to a post. I mean, I can access a post from a post, but it's not the same. I think I just confuse you. Don't listen to me at that moment in time.
That moment you confuse me.
But as far as headless CMS, I'll show you at the end what it is. You do have that option in case you want to build a custom theme, but you don't want to learn PHP and whatever. You can use something like React to build the front end, right? And I'll show you what.
I know what headless means. I don't know what CMS is.
Content management system.
That's what WordPress is.
Yeah.
Is a content management
So
system.
I don't think headless means like, you know,
It means
headless horseman, headless.
No. It essentially means utilizing WordPress as just the backend for content creation, and then it serves all your content through the API. So that API that you were saying, well, why does it build it automatically?
Okay.
It's for that specific purpose. Yeah. So what I was talking about, advanced, no, I clicked different one. Page attributes. So I can set a template for that specific page, right? And the cool thing is I can have, say I have 12 different templates, right? I can have a template for each page if I wanted to. Or I can have it default to the default template right off the bat, and then it'll serve that template for that page. So again, you get a lot of control over everything out of the box. So again, for the purpose of editing a page, it's very similar to editing an article. So
Does it create the API for the pages too?
yes, for everything, images, articles, pages, even users. So out of the box, you do have some control over comments. You can see I posted a wonderful comment there. I said the truth. It was a wonderful article. And then in response to, and then it tells me like what article I posted that comment on, right? There are several different plugins that you can utilize to moderate your comments. It really depends on your needs. So yeah, it depends. Out of the box, you have all these different groups for comments. Let's say I want to add this to the trash can. I can click on trash and it's deleted, right? Let's say I don't want it on the front end, but I want to keep it here. Maybe I want to think about if I approve it or not. I unapprove, and then it doesn't show on the front end.
That's if someone else uploaded a post to your blog.
Yeah,
Comment, yeah.
A comment.
Oh, comment. Okay.
Yeah, comment, not a post, just a comment. But now that you bring that up, there are plugins where, say there's different roles in WordPress, right? There's an administrator, there's an editor, author, contributor, or collaborator, I can't remember. But let's say, for example, the editor sees that an author added an article and it's not something that they want to publish, they can unapprove it, right? So they have access to edit any of those articles, but the author can't edit other people's articles,
Yeah.
right? So you have those permissions out of the box. So, okay.
Is there a way to do you always have to approve the comments for them to show up, or does it have like something where they're just?
Yeah, so you can have them by
live?
default be approved.
Mhm.
I wouldn't suggest you do that, because then
Don't.
you'll have things from like all over the place.
You'll have thousands of comments,
Yeah.
Well,
and
you
most
can
of
also
them will
put,
be done by robots.
you can put a plug in and it'll catch a lot of the spam stuff.
Yeah. So
I use one, it's called Askanet.
yeah, that comes out of the box with it.
Yeah, and it just grabs them. I mean, I don't have that much, but I've had a couple spam ones that have gotten snagged. So.
Yeah, if your blog is public and you're sharing it, more than likely you will get spam if you're not protecting yourself. So. Okay, so appearance. I clicked on appearance, right? From here you can add a theme. Let's say I want to change my theme from 2011. I want to update all the way up to, where's 19? Right here. I want to use the 2019 theme, okay? I click activate, done. I switch themes, okay? So now if I go to the front end again,
So it's changing the theme for everything, not for a specific post or something.
right. I wonder, did I set the page to something else? 1 second.
So you can already see the menu changed, though. Oh yeah, you changed it.
There we go. So you can see that it changed it, right? I think they're going for like a minimalistic, modern look.
Yeah, I don't like that one at all.
Pretty
It's the
blank.
default one now.
Yeah, but yeah, you can see there's no more image here. All my articles are showing up, right? So, but let's say we want to find a theme. So click on themes, we click on add new, and there's a repository of themes on WordPress.org. Somebody give me a keyword to type in here.
Tech.
Travel.
So I type in tech, and it provides these for me, right? Let's say I want to do travel. I found 588 themes.
Minus the images.
I don't know.
Actually, sometimes you'll get those stock images too.
Yeah.
It just depends on the theme.
Now, these
Which
are
is
all
actually kind of annoying because then you gotta go in and delete them all out
Yeah.
of your media library.
these are all themes that other people like you have built, and they've put on the repository for WordPress, and people can use them. Okay. So let's say for some reason I want to use this one. I'm gonna trust that they're not gonna do anything with my site and activate it. Okay. Now keep in mind what you're doing right now is you're allowing somebody else's code to live on your server, right? So you're trusting somebody's code is not gonna install a backdoor or something into your site, right? So that's the whole reason why you look at. You have a question, Scott?
What?
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say something. You have to be careful with what you install on your site. So you look at reviews and everything for themes and plugins. So
So
that-
these are
that
user
recommendation-
generated.
I'm sorry.
That recommendation that came up, is that because that theme is dependent on those?
Yes.
those-
So
So if
yeah.
you,
It's not always dependent, but they built it with those in mind.
Yeah.
So those plugins and additional items are gonna function the most smoothly with that theme.
Right. So to improve your experience with that theme, they're recommending you install these, right? So
But these are all user generated, not.
these
they're
plugins,
not- It's not like stuff on, it's not monitored or whatever,
the plugins or the themes?
either.
Yeah, so you go through a review with WordPress.org, you upload it to SVN, they look at your code, and if it meets their standards, then they publish it.
So there's at least some kind of
Yeah,
oversight.
some. So, yeah, some. And again, theme details, I can see who the author is, what the theme is about, all the different tags. I can live preview instead of just going crazy and installing it right off the bat. If I want to go see what other things that author has,
How could you set it up for like A/B testing?
I don't know. That's out of my
Run it for a while.
run for a
Stats,
while.
change it, run it for, I mean, I don't know how you would do, you'd have to have two separate sites.
It's plug-in domain.
Mhm.
There's
Or there might be a
there's an
plugin out
idea
there
for
already.
Plug-in domain. A/B testing for themes.
Well, you'd have to have two servers because you'd have to be serving two pages.
No, A/B testing would have to randomly determine which theme to use each time someone visits the site.
If you are developing all code, right, instead of just clicking buttons, you can switch themes programmatically. So theoretically, you could. So you should check it out. See if there's a plugin.
I don't know, say that's something to check out. That's
I'm
a
sure the marketing
huge-
department for a local company would probably
That's
buy it. So
a big, well, actually for in general, that's a big thing for for the big guys.
So-
Before they change their sites, they do that.
the big guys would put up two servers.
They'd
out
put up
and
two
then-
servers.
And
Yeah,
then
that's
put up a
true.
load balancer that just
just
waits
because
the
they
traffic.
can. So
Yeah.
okay, so these themes live on the WordPress repository, right? But there's also themes out there on, say, for example, Theme Forest. There's a bunch of themes that you can buy on there. So let's say you purchase one and they provide you a zip, right? Zip folder. You click on Add New, and then you can upload theme.
So
And
this
you
is
drop it in
through
here.
your website that's accessing the themes hosted on the WordPress repository?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's basically your accessing an outside link
Yes.
from your website.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you drop in that zip folder here, and then click install now. It'll try to install it. If it fails, it'll usually tell you why. Say the style sheet file is broken or something, it'll let you know. And if it doesn't, you should probably choose another theme.
And does it actually have a mobile version and a regular version?
It depends on the theme itself, right? The quality of the theme, that's completely different. So, again, you can't ask for much if it's free. If you're paying for it, yeah, you can ask the world if you want. It's up to you. So, there's some themes that go for like $60. I think that's like
That's kind of the standard, 59.
yeah, standard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just it sounds cheaper than
Yeah.
60.
What's interesting is starting to see a lot more people use the 7. Maybe like $57.
Really? Oh.
I'm starting to see that more and more. $27.
Now keep in mind, like, yeah, they're selling it for $57, but they've sold it like 1,000 times or 2,000 times. So,
Yeah.
depending on the theme, you could make some money. You're not gonna be rich.
And
but
they usually only offer support for like 6 months.
yeah, Theme Forest I think is from like 3 to 6 months, and then you have to pay.
If you want
more.
to continue to have more support on it, yeah.
Yeah.
So if something breaks on their end, you only have a limited time to.
So a theme is more than just color scheme and.
Yeah, there's a whole API to build themes. So cool.
Well, the other thing, back to the A/B, just not too into it, but as you saw when he threw one theme up to the other theme, like everything doesn't match immediately. Like
Yeah.
there's some edits that you have to go in and like, you know, tweak and adjust and change based off the layout of each of those themes. So
In
it'd be
post?
really hard. Yeah, everywhere. So it'd be really hard to just have it randomly generate. That's why I was thinking you'd have to have 2 servers. So this one's fully set up and this one's, and then it would just
Sounds like
randomly.
You should be able to based on accessing the API, because it said it generates an API for everything. And
yeah, but it doesn't mean that it's going to use it for core for the theme itself, right? It's giving you those tools, so whatever you develop, if you're going to use it, it's there. Right?
So like you can see right now, it displayed fine on the other one, but on this one it's like missing pieces of design stuff that he didn't add because this theme has more design elements than the last theme had.
and it's not there
But,
because he never
but out of the
created
box,
it.
this new theme looks much better than the other one.
You're like, I might just keep this one.
I might just keep this one. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. So yeah, you can see all your articles are laid out different now, right? So how much effort did this take you? Just a few clicks, right? Now you can go in and customize it. So we'll get to the customization. Widgets, you can have different parts of your site be widgetized. You can install plugins to add custom widgets. Have you utilized widgets a lot, April?
Not a lot, but yeah, I've used them.
I normally don't utilize widgets much.
The Instagram feed, I've done widgets to have like on a sidebar where it grabs the Instagram feeds.
Yeah, so
it's kind of a combo of a plugin inside a widget.
let's say your theme has areas that are widgetized where you can drop in widgets. You can utilize it for that, but it's dependent on the theme. Unless you
What's
go.
a widget?
So it's think of additional functionality, right? So for example, let's say you want to drop an image somewhere on the page that's been widgetized. And what I mean widgetized is on the theme itself, on that template, the developer said, okay, this section right here, this div or this box, whatever it is, they're able to drop in a widget here. And I'll name it right sidebar or footer 3, footer 4, footer 1, footer 2, whatever the case may be, right? So if I, let me just drop something in there. Okay, image, add an image, I'll drop that, save, nope, that's not the one, here. And it should be in the footer. See?
Yeah.
Footer. So I said 4 of them, right? So there should be 1, 2, and 3. So if I drop anything in those, it'll show up there, right? So that's what widgets do. I am more used to doing it on the back end. So with PHP, a lot of these plugins give you commands, so you can actually execute like shortcodes or anything in the back end.
So you can randomize the image and add a link.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want once you start touching the code. So yeah, so out of the box, widgets. So in the
And not
beginning, they're pretty
everything has a
useful.
widget.
Yeah, not all themes have widgets. So navigation. So again, this is dependent on the theme. You'll see that everything's dependent on the theme pretty much, unless a plugin's adding functionality to your site. But if the theme developer made it so that you have a navigation on your site and you can edit the navigation, it doesn't just populate all the pages that you have or whatever the case may be. It'll show up here. So let's test, create menu. Let me look at locations. So yeah, so they have 4 different navigation items that I can use. There's a primary menu, secondary, a social one, and then one for the footer, right? So let's assign the tests navigation that I created. Let me save. And then just for testing purposes, I'm gonna add all the 3 pages I have in there, right? So add to menu and save it. So now if I go to the front end, the footer should have a navigation. So you can see
You
it
didn't
right
drop
here.
it into your widget.
Yeah, it's here.
Oh, it's down at the bottom, I see.
Yeah. So you
Oh.
can see.
Oh, so you added the, okay.
Now keep in mind, widgets, like you said, and navigation, separate, right?
Yeah.
But for example, let's say your theme didn't come with custom navigation, you could potentially put it inside of a widget if it did come with widgets. So again, if you are adding anything to the navigation, you can add pages, links to posts, custom links. Say you want to link offsite or something. So, any questions about navigation? Again, heavily dependent on the theme. So,
If you drop down, like let's say under your home screen or your products page, you can see you can actually build on that too and make a sub-menu underneath that menu too. So like if you wanted products to go down and then have categories underneath that.
Oh, okay.
Over on the
Yeah.
other side over there. Whereas this, yeah. Right, so you can nest them within each other and then they become drop downs.
thank you very much. So let me see how it's gonna do here. Yeah, not very pretty.
Not very pretty on the footer.
Yeah. But
So this is not a drop down, it just moved it.
for
Yeah,
this theme,
for
this
that theme.
Yeah, there are themes that will take care of that. So
Like
again,
my personal one, I think I have 4 or 5 things at the top, but then 2 of them have multiple items that drop. And there's even a sub-menu under a sub-menu, I think, somewhere.
there's also plugins that are specifically for navigation. Is it like Mega Menu? Is one of them. But yeah, it customizes your navigation, so it gives you a bit more power over it. Or you could just use code. So I won't cover header. Whatever. Let's see if this theme has a header. Sure.
Do you use Dream hosting for your registrar also?
No.
So was it difficult to, or not difficult, but were there any issues in hosting a site that you registered from a different registrar through DreamHost?
No, because you either point the name servers to that hosting that you have, or just the A record, right? Depending on your use case. So, again, we did have a talk about hosting, so you should check it out.
For me, it's always been namespaces. I just redirect the namespace back to the new host.
I wasn't here for that one apparently.
No, it was a long time ago.
Maybe it's time to do it again.
Only like 3 people showed up for that one, so
Yeah, but
we'll see.
how many people did you have in the meetup back then too?
That's true. Stop throwing facts at me, please. I don't do well with those. Yeah, we'll probably do it again at some point. So it's one of those.
Kind of goes hand in hand with
Yeah.
this.
So
And then talking about the registrars and hosting and name servers and DNS.
there's a lot to it. Yeah.
But I mean, it's all really important, especially for web developers.
Blockberry. That's the theme I have.
I thought it was travel something or other.
Yeah, but that's maybe the name of the builder, or the developer.
Let's see. Yeah, Travelberg. Yeah. Have information. So all these different options, and again, they're specific to the theme. So I don't know what any of this does, other than it looks like you can download demo files, so that it pre-fills the theme, and you can see what everything looks like all pre-filled, and then you can go in there and modify it one by one.
I highly discourage you not to do that.
Yeah, it takes longer.
It's a
So
lot
you
of
can learn
stuff.
to, be a web developer without ever learning JavaScript.
So that's the
HTML.
problem. Don't say that. That's one of the reasons why some people don't like WordPress, because as soon as someone that doesn't know how to code uses WordPress, they start adding plugins and they build a site, all of a sudden they think they're a developer. Again, I'm not talking about any one video. I know I'm on video. There's a difference, right? A developer, if anything breaks, you can fix it.
You
Code.
can be a web designer without ever learning how to
Even
HTML,
then, I wouldn't
CSS.
call him a web designer.
You know, there's still just a lot of walls you're going to run into, and that's,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, when I put my blog together, it was during a
Didn't
time
say you'd be
frame
a
when I was
good
taking a
one.
break.
If anything, I call him like a WordPress user,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like a specialist.
Sure, let's call it
Very
that.
specialized type of.
That's a nice word. I like that. WordPress specialist.
Back
I've heard it
when-
as being an implementer. Like
back
you
when
can
I used
implement
WordPress,
WordPress, or you
it
can
didn't have
develop WordPress.
a tenth of this functionality.
Yeah, it's moved quite a bit.
I mean, it didn't have e-commerce plugins. It didn't. It was a blog, and that was it.
Yeah. So, moving forward, there's also a theme editor. So you have access to some of the files for that theme. Let's say for some reason you needed to access the files, and you can't do it from your editor or your server for some reason. You do have access to some of these files. Okay. So let's say I want to look at the header. You can see the code for the header from here, right? Okay. Any questions about that? That's pretty straightforward. Theme editor, right? So let's say you have multiple themes. You click where it says select theme to edit. You can select any other theme and then press select, and then it'll load the files for that specific theme. Okay?
The only thing I would say, and this could be untrue, but I've heard that if you do changes in this and then the theme updates, that you
Yep.
can lose your update.
Yeah,
So
that's-
if you go in and tinker too much on this level versus building an actual child that lays on top of it, then
Yeah.
you're going to potentially lose
So
your
normally what you do to avoid that, and again, out of the scope of this
Yeah, yeah,
talk,
yeah.
but you create a child theme.
Right, I was just, before
Yeah.
people get in there and get too crazy,
Yeah.
just know that you
Start
don't
editing
update your
everything.
theme ever then.
Yeah, and that applies to WordPress itself as well. You're going to be updating WordPress from time to time. If you do any changes to core, which is it's not advised at all, don't do that, right? You extend WordPress, you don't rewrite the core. Because as soon as you update, it's all,
Gone.
yeah, it's gone, right? Same thing with themes. If it's a theme that you bought and you're going to get updates from the developer, extend it, create a child theme. So again, you're not developing themes right now, but in the future, in case you do. Okay, plugins. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. I know you're very excited and everything, but we're almost done. One theme that I will suggest that you guys install for security purposes is WordFence. I've used it quite a bit. Not quite a bit, for quite a while. And it's nice. So I just installed it, and you can see that it added this new nav item right here, WordFence. Okay, go to dashboard. It'll take me through the whole little introduction. Now, the cool thing about WordFence, in my opinion, is that as there's updates happening, it'll send me an email telling me, hey, we noticed that there's updates, you should probably get on that and update your site, right? Also, if there are attempts to log into your site, multiple attempts, let's say 5 or 6, it'll group them, and then it'll let you know as well, and it'll stop them from logging in. If it sees that it's excessive based on the settings that you input, it'll block them. It'll even give you data based on where most of these access attempts are coming from as far as demographics. So Russia, China, other countries, so it's pretty cool.
It's better than Security, which is what I have on mine, because it emails me every time I log in.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, I know, I did it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to plugins. Again, so I click on it, I can activate, deactivate, etc. Very straightforward. What I want you guys to see is the repository of all these plugins. I clicked on add, I'm sorry?
How do you remove it?
So,
Just delete it.
yeah, so click on install plugins, and then you can either delete it if it's not activated yet, or click here, deactivate. And then done. Right? And then if I don't want it on my server anymore,
So none of
delete
those
it.
are activated?
No, none of them. No. Let me activate that.
So you can't delete it if it's not deactivated?
No, because it doesn't give you the option. Let's say, oh, I don't want to delete that one.
It doesn't.
It doesn't let you?
You have to deactivate it first.
Oh, look. It wasn't activated.
It
was
wasn't, you didn't do it.
Just kidding. I
That was
mean,
being all smart.
don't kill me at work, please. I need your help.
I'll just send all the bugs your way.
No, please don't do that. I got you on video, so. Anyways, so let's go to add a new plugin. Okay, what functionality do you guys want to add?
What was that?
What functionality are we looking to add to the site?
SEO.
Yoast, yeah. So there's a plugin for pretty much everything, right? The most popular one for SEO purposes is Yoast. So again, so when you're looking at these plugins, look at how many reviews they have, right? This one has 26,796.
But it also has 5+ million active installations.
Yeah, so wonderful. Compare that to something like,
The second one was like 100 or something. Go back, scroll up. Scroll up
To the top.
to the top.
all the way to the top.
Oh, that's 2 million, but it only has
Yeah, like the one he was going to,
it
it was
only
only
had
4,000.
456 reviews though.
Yeah, the one I was gonna click at the bottom had like what, 2, 3?
Mhm.
Yeah, 2 reviews, but it had 4,000 active installations. But again, that's what you look at when you're looking at plugins, right? You can also look at details, and then you can go to the support page. Okay, I believe you can also see the reviews, what they said. Yeah, you can see all the wonderful things they said. Say so, it's pretty transparent. So if you get hacked, you were asking for it.
Yeah, this is the IESD.
Okay, any questions about plugins? So you know where to find them, you know how to install plugins,
Good.
okay?
Like he was asking banners, I bet you if you put in like custom banners,
Yeah, that's
something
it.
would come up.
Oh,
Oh, really?
maybe one banner. There we go.
Here.
So there's all these plugins for banners. Okay,
Like this thing, see these?
users. Let's say you have multiple users. Okay, you click on users, and you can add new users, you can edit users. If you're an administrator, you can see all these different settings for them. Okay, there's plugins that can add more fields to this, or you can add them through the code itself. Again, there's what's it called? BuddyPress. You can build a social media network just installing BuddyPress, and then out of the box it has profiles, it has custom fields and everything. You can have a wall where you can chat with everyone, and then all it took is like 2-3 different clicks. So, oh, and I changed my theme. That's wonderful. Okay, tools. You won't use this section right here.
Not very often. Sometimes
No.
plugins will go there.
Yeah. What plugins? Trying to
I know, I
think.
was just trying to think of what's in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, as you get experience, you'll kind of learn those different things.
Usually on the plugin, if it goes in there, there'll be a selection under the plugin on the plugin page that says settings. And so you can get to the settings from there as well. That's usually when it doesn't go in the sidebar. And if you're looking for it elsewhere, it's probably in your tools.
Now, the last item on the dashboard, settings, right? So, let me open general. So you guys saw on the front end, I have this huge title at the top, right? You can modify it here. That's a site title, okay? You have a tagline. Some themes don't use it at all. So you just fill it out and it'll just sit there. You have the WordPress URL, the site address. Be careful when you change these because you can break your site. If it's incorrect, you won't be able to log back in. Then you have to go into your database and change it there, the options. And if you don't know how to do that, you're gonna have a wonderful time. Email address for the admin. Yeah, so these are pretty self-explanatory. The one that I want to show you guys is permalinks. So So you guys saw how, let me show you an article real quick. You guys see how this article is, the URL is generated? So year, month, I'm assuming date, and then name of the article. The air conditioner is off. What?
It's blowing right now.
Yeah, then you can change the way these URLs are generated. Okay, so let's say for some reason I want it to be post name. Go back. Okay, you guys see this says fancy title, right? So it's much cleaner. So again, it depends on your use case. So let's say you don't want any of that, you can have a custom structure. So, okay, does that make any sense? Cool. Again, you have a lot of control over a lot of things with WordPress. So, again, we saw media settings, all the different sizes. You can set them here manually. Or in the code, you can add more than just these three, right? Discussion. We talked about how by default, some of these are automatically added. Say before a comment appears, you can make it to where a comment must be manually approved, right? I do that, I save it, and then when I try to post a comment, it'll say it's gone to moderation or whatever message the theme has set. So, reading. Yeah, I know we don't even touch this.
Yeah, you can set like right there blog post pages to show the most. So like if you have your blog thing, maybe you don't want 10 posts to show, maybe you only want 3 or 4. You can set those there.
Yeah, most of the time, I think these are overridden by the theme that you're using. And then if you're like custom building it, you set it in your loop yourself. So, but yeah, it's there. So
I've had to use it.
Oh, there you go. Writing. Yeah, I've never changed this. I normally use a plugin called Mail SMTP, and then I set it to like the mail server I'm supposed to be using, so that if I have to send any notifications to users, they don't get bounced back or sent to spam. Instead of utilizing your PHP server on your like shared hosting or something, you can utilize something like your Gmail server. So if you have like G Suite or something.
I use G Suite.
Okay, there you go. So you have more authority. Well, Google has authority compared to your server, so theirs won't get sent to spam directly, or it has a lower chance of happening to you. Okay. So let's see. It should give me an error. Perfect. So this site I built with Next.js utilizing React, and then the back end is WordPress, right? So in order for that to work, you can see that's giving me an error, right? Because it's trying to map through an object, but it's not finding it. So if I go to themes and watch it not work, that'll be horrible. See, Tony, I'm gonna feel it. So I activate this custom theme, right? See, and it loads all the articles that I have on the back end, even that new fancy title one that I added, right? So if I go back into my articles and delete that wonderful article.
Which, by the way, you might want to update your outreach. I think you made some changes.
Oh, yeah, I did. It doesn't matter. Okay, you see, it real time, wonderful, right? So again.
So you did that through React?
Yeah, so the front end is all React, right? And then the back end is just WordPress.
So as soon as you click on that post, it's going to be in your React template, but pulling
Yes.
the content from your WordPress.
Mm-hmm. Utilizing the API.
Right.
Right, so this
Right,
is
okay.
all React.
Yeah, no, I'm getting ready to go that route because I don't like my theme.
And again, it's not like it's better than building it with just PHP, but it's whatever you know, right? It's just your preference.
Right, that's for me. I don't know PHP, so
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna build it out with React.
it might be easier to just depend on the API and build it off of that. So as far as SEO goes, you can make it to where it's pretty much the same. So utilizing React by itself might be an issue, but that's why I utilize Next.js.
I was gonna use Gatsby.
Or you can use Gatsby, but I use Next.js to do server-side rendering
What
out
is
of the box.
Next.js?
Next.js, it's a framework, right, for React, utilizing React. And it gives you a bunch of different tools, and one of them being server-side rendering. So everything's rendered on the server, and then it's spit out to the front end, right? So for example, let's say the search crawler goes to your site. Okay, your search, thank you. That just threw me off, wonderful. Let's say the search crawler goes to your site. If you're using something like React and you have scripts that your content is dependent on, it has to wait for those scripts to load, right? And say it's only allotting you like 500 milliseconds to get everything and give up the content. If anything's not loaded within that allotted time, it'll only take whatever rendered, right? So that can hurt your SEO score. But if you did everything server-side rendered, right? So everything's spit up to the front end. So I see a face over here, no? Yes?
Oh, I get it.
Oh, okay.
So
I
then,
thought you had input.
so then all of your stats as far as like your Google Analytics and all of that stuff from your page, like if you were to switch your theme to the headless theme, none of that matters because that's all in your database as part of your WordPress.
What do you mean?
Like your how many users visit your site or whatever. Like
Yeah,
your
so as long as
analytics, all
you're
of that
still
stuff.
tracking that
Yeah.
on your front end, let's say there's a script that you have to add to track that or whatever the case may be, you can still send it back. So, was that the question or?
Kind of.
Okay.
Well, because I'm debating, the first one I'm going to build, I'm going to just do it as a standalone like developer blog because my blog is already established.
Just
and then,
keep in mind that is.
but I might rebuild that one too.
Yeah.
So.
Some things do become a bit more difficult
Yeah.
because it's not like WordPress was built specifically for that.
Right.
So there are plugins you can't just utilize that way. But
That's
if
why I'll
it's-
probably just leave that one alone.
Yeah,
And
so-
just maybe do a child theme or something. And
Yeah. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Any questions about the dashboard? No? We didn't touch this over here, but again, that's just for your user, edit your profile or just log out.
Sometimes there's plugins that'll put like short links on the top too, but.
Yeah. Any questions? Otherwise, I took up enough of your time. And we're good. Please make sure to RSVP for the hack day, guys. So, yeah, we're good. Thanks, everyone.